Hello there, my name is Clip. Welcome to Candid Conversations, zoomed in and comments video, our channel here on YouTube. This morning, I'm joined by Maureen Cosyn Heath. She is a manager with the City of Hamilton, and she works in the transit group. She is basically here to talk about a very interesting and hot topic in the city, and that is, of course, a change that is occurring for people who ride the bus who are disabled and or use assistive devices. And it is basically a real hot button issue for everybody. So I wanted to get her on and talk about this, find out what this is about, why they're doing the changes and whatnot. Maureen, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with us today.
My pleasure.
All right, so basically there's a new program out and it's called Fair Assist, and the question, there are a number of different questions regarding this. One of them is what prompted the change from a system that allowed riders to get on the bus who are disabled and not have to pay for a ride? What was the sea change here?
The key change is we wanted to develop a program that was means tested based on quantifiable data. So we developed the Fair Assist program as a way to provide equitable access to discounted fares for people with low income. So Fair Assist is based on the low income measure and an application process that, once qualified, provides for a 30% discount for the applicant and all the members of their household. And this is regardless of ability or disability. It is something that we estimate 88,000 Hamiltonians can benefit from. So it's a substantive change in terms of it should have a much broader outreach. And the program will also qualify for people who ride conventional HSR bus service, but also on our contracted service through DARTS for people who require specialized transit service as well. So big change, a lot more benefits for many more people.
Oh, I see. Okay. So how was this developed? How did you come about developing this? You said it means tested and developed with data. How was that created?
So we are not the first transit agency or municipality to introduce a low-income bus fare program. There are other examples out there. We're certainly not a leader in the field. But why it is something that is beneficial is that it is quantifiable. You can means test based on income. You can tie it to the low income measure and set your discount. And we chose to start the program at 30%.
Oh, I see. Okay. Is that going to slide up and down at one point? Is there going to be a sliding scale eventually on this, or is this going to be a set 30% discount across the board?
That's one of the benefits of the pilot program. We have a 30-month pilot set to launch January 1st. And the first place was 30%. Once we have more data of how many people are accessing the program and are able to identify perhaps a true low income portion of people who register for it, we can start making choices to increase transit affordability for people based on what we're seeing in the data. So the 30% isn't a locked-in number, and it certainly can be revisited in the future based on what we learned from the pilot program.
Okay, so yes, a 2-year pilot program, as you mentioned. One of the questions I think a lot of people would have out there is this a way to pay for the benefits negotiated with your drivers? There was a recent strike here in Hamilton, and some people might think, well, is this a way to pay for those drivers?
Well, that shows sort of a lack of research on timing of when Fair Assist was developed, I think. If you go back into the Public Works report, you'll see we first mentioned it in April of 2023. And then we did public consultation and went out with the final recommendation report to Public Works in July. So well before the strike. These two things have nothing to do with each other whatsoever.
Okay, yeah, because a lot of people would ask us, "Hey, was this a union idea? Like, did the union come to you and say, 'Hey, here's a way of getting some money. Why don't you just start charging the people with the disabilities to
Absolutely
right?'"
not.
No,
Absolutely not.
okay, that's a good thing because we don't want that. Now, of course, you said that you did do some public consultation, but one group in particular, the CNIB, stated that there was no reach out to them. How do you respond to that particular feedback from that particular agency?
We launched public consultation and had it open for several months. We had many CNIB card holders who provided feedback through the open feedback dialogues with CNIB. We've reached out to other committee groups as well. And we put a public survey up, and I think we received more than 1,000 responses on the topic. And in fact, I think one of the comments made from some of our counselors was that it was probably one of the most responded to city surveys that we've released. So we did do consultation. There is no amount of consultation that will ever be enough when you're making programmatic change. We recognize that. But generally speaking, the benefits of this program being parallel on both systems, 30% discount to household members, knowing automatically that everyone on ODSP and Ontario Works will automatically qualify. The benefits are substantive and it's a far greater reach than what the old voluntary temporary pay program afforded.
Mhm. Now, some would say that this is kind of matching what Presto already does, because I have a Presto card. I started using it. Basically, I put away my CNIB card. It's like, okay, might as well get used to this. Buy some card and put some money on it, and there is a discount. It brings it down to $2.70. Does this basically amount to a match against Presto?
That was not the program intent, and no computation was done based on that to align the two figures. It's the 30% off the adult cost fare. And again, for us, it's to the entire household. So it's a far greater benefit than anything that is offered elsewhere.
Oh, I see. Now, one thing that I can understand, we want to make sure that people are paying their fare and such. Even people who are disabled, I'm understanding that, hey, you know what, maybe it's time to do that. Was this change in response to the fact that there were some riders getting canes and walkers from these thrift stores and getting on the buses without paying? Was this another way of also mitigating fare evasion?
That wasn't our primary motivator, but certainly we were aware of reports of that kind of sort of fraudulent misuse taking place. And so one of the benefits is it does correct that. So not the primary intent, but a subsidiary benefit.
Okay, so it does have a little bit of an effect. Um, Now, some people would say that the optics here don't seem to make the HSR look kind of good here at all. The plan to deal with this, of course, and talk about this has, I'm sure, drawn some pushback. How are you going to counter the pushback, or how are you countering any pushback, especially uh, what are you going to do when January comes in? There might be some pushback at the fare box.
So we've had lots of dialogues with our drivers, and we have encouraged our drivers to use a sort of soft approach, particularly in the early months as people adapt to the change. They have a brochure that they can hand out on the bus about the new program and how to apply. And as always, we're going to ask people to use their better judgment as people get used to the change. We also have customer experience staff and trainers headed out in the field right now and into the early new year at some of our major terminal points to provide support, education, and information. So we do recognize this is a change to kind of a long-standing practice, and we're going to support the community through those changes.
I see. Okay. Uh, and what, if anything, do you want people who are disabled to understand about this change? What was the rationale behind all of this? And of course, it is a massive change. And what would you say are the positive aspects of this particular program? What's the big takeaway you want people to have on this particular issue?
That's a great question. I think what I really want people to take away is that this program will benefit up to 88,000 Hamiltonians. It's a household-wide discount of 30%, and it is based on something that is quantifiable. It is not subjective, and it applies equally to people of all ages and abilities. Some of the challenges that we had with the program that we're replacing is it wasn't equal to all disabilities. Only some benefited from the option to choose whether to pay or not. So it was, sort of something that was for a slice of a certain portion of a population. This is designed to be a much more level playing field, where it's based on something that we can attach a number to and provide a discount to help make transit more affordable for more Hamiltonians in the community.
Okay. Now, of course, we know that across Canada, people who are visually impaired, those carrying the CNIB card, would get on a bus. Like I've lived in Edmonton, I've lived in here in Ontario and parts of Ontario where I've just simply got on, showed the card, and no fare needed to be paid. And of course, there's one jurisdiction, which is Quebec, that doesn't recognize the CNIB card at all. Is this basically going away? The CNIB card is no longer going to be recognized in Hamilton? Is that what you're saying here? Or do you think eventually you might bring something similar back to where the CNIB card would be recognized and in a more reduced fare would be attached to that?
The intention is not to just single out the CNIB card. That's why the decision was made that it was on all voluntary pay programs. And what the future holds, I won't speculate on.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair point. We don't really know. I guess this is really a program that's going to be in development. So basically, what can people do if they still have feedback, if they still want? You mentioned trainers are going out. You mentioned there's customer feedback. How do people reach back out to you guys and talk or continue to have this conversation regarding the program, how it's developing, and where it goes from here? What's the channels that they would want to use to do that?
They would be encouraged to contact the HSR customer service team.
Okay, the HSR team. Perfect. Well, you know what? It's really going to be interesting to see how this pans out. I think it's going to be an interesting challenge, and I would say that this is going to be a thing that we want to basically embrace and try and work around and with, as opposed to push back on. After all, people with disabilities want to be equal. Well, part of that is basically paying our fair share for the system, because after all, it does cost a lot of money to run those buses and put those drivers in the seats to do that. So I think I understand what the point here is. It's basically it's means based, but also it's a way of saying, look, if you really want to be equal in the community, you do have to basically understand you're going to pay your fair share. Is that also part of what you're trying to say here as well?
No, that really wasn't part of our consideration at all.
Okay. But I think that's still a good goal in a lot of ways as well. And I really want to say thank you very much for taking the time out to join us here and talk about this. Obviously, you have a passion for transit. How long have you been working in transit?
I've been working in transit since 1999, so almost 25 years at this point. I do truly love transit. I love the support that it provides for the community and how it can help a community move and grow and flourish. And it really is at this point my life's work. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like you have a real interest in this. And are there any plans for more expansion of different routes and such, particularly in places like Stony Creek and also up on the mountain?
So the HSR redesigned is the new network that we've been working on. It went out in also in April. It was debuted. We've gone through months of public surveys and more public engagement on it. And now we're going back to the drawing board to develop the new transit growth plan for the city of Hamilton on what the next 10 years looks like as we build out that network to be ready for the light rail. And it's going to be another decade of growth ahead of us. And we're looking forward to the challenges that will come with that through construction and through system overhaul. It's always going to be, you know, something that is going to be difficult for people to adapt to that much change. But we are really looking forward to building the network, the transit network of the future. And we've got quite the work ahead of us to accomplish that goal. It'll be great.
Yeah, and you sound like you're having fun doing it.
I try to.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I really appreciate this time. As I mentioned, I appreciate your time taking a bit of time out to talk to us about the program and about the expansion and about the fact that you're into this and really, really want to see this work well for everybody. I will get this up on our channel. Maureen, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it a lot.
My pleasure. Have a great day.
Perfect.